Hi everyone. Welcome in to my live stream. It's an honor and a blessing to share this moment with you, whether you're joining live or whether you're watching back on the replay. So what I'm going to do is check the chat as well to make sure that I can keep up with your comments. And I wanted to go live to really talk about the topic of self-abandonment and really what that means and how that could manifest or look in your life. And we're going to dive into it shortly, but what I'm going to do first, just whilst I'm waiting for people to arrive, is do a quick opening prayer. And then I'm going to show you one of my new songs called Aslan that is on the way to release. It's going to be out on the 11th of August, and you're going to be able to stream it on all streaming platforms from the 11th of August. It's called Aslan, which means lion, and it's about one of my spirit guides, this great white lion called Aslan. And Leo season, Lionsgate, it all seems like a very appropriate time to release this song. So looking forward to showing you that in a sec. We'll just do our opening prayer. And then I'll play Aslan, and then we're just going to get straight into it. Comment where you are tuning in from if you're watching us live, and what your thoughts are about self-abandonment. If you've ever found yourself abandoning yourself, if you have no idea what it is at all, or if you're maybe recovering from it, surviving self-abandonment, or thriving after self-abandonment. We're going to be doing teaching today and also answering any questions in a Q&A. If you have any questions, just feel free to type them in the chat and I would love to answer them. So a quick prayer. Wow, it's really started raining outside. It's so refreshing. Really pouring it down. I don't know if you can hear it, probably. Divine Mother, Father, creator of all life, thank you for this beautiful time spent with these beautiful people, whether they're here live or watching back on the replay. Our prayer today is to uplift everyone, fill us all with hope, with awareness, with insights, with healing, with activations and everything that we need to step into our highest and greatest purpose, to recognize where we may be abandoning ourselves in our own lives, where we have in the past, where we may be doing currently, to recognize it so that we can start to bring awareness to it and start to make positive changes in the areas that are needed. Thank you for the cleansing rains to cleanse and clean all of our fields, to cleanse and clean this call, to purify this call with your holy waters, and to bliss us all with everything we need to find true peace, happiness, and purpose in our lives. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to play Aslan, and then off we go. I'm going to share my screen. Share. And share sound as well. Let's do this. I'm gonna make sure it's turned up on my computer as well because I couldn't hear it a sec. Come on. One sec. Aslan, Aslan, lion of the heavens, got you by my side wherever I go. You're magnificent, better than the stories that were told. Walking with courage, feeling brave as I step into the great unknown. Away we go, I am never afraid, never afraid. I've got you by my side, keeping me safe. Yeah, it's a short and sweet one. But honestly, I have had that song as an idea for pretty much for over a year, for maybe over 2 years. And I've just never been able to put lyrics to it. And then more recently, I just love the melody, so I kept trying to put lyrics to it. And then these lyrics started to arise in perfect divine timing. And it's all about really having the courage to step into the great unknown and to have the courage of the lion, the courage that the lion can assist you with. And that's one of the things that Aslan, the great white lion, the spirit guide that I have, has really assisted me with, is having courage and strength and having that fierceness, because I personally, for my whole life, I've been quite soft. I've been sensitive. I have been like an empath, really. I've been a bit of a pushover as well, and I've always been very kind. And what's happened is people have taken my kindness for weakness. And this is the thing, is if you are too nice or soft or giving or kind without knowing how to hold and affirm boundaries, then you can unfortunately attract the wrong type of people that will actually take advantage of that and use you, and take your kindness for weakness, really. And so this is all where um, where this topic of self-abandonment has come in, because when you when you are overly giving, overly sensitive, you see the good in everyone, um, and you don't have the boundaries, then what can often happen is that when people do take advantage of you, you find yourself saying yes to things that you normally wouldn't really want to say yes to. There's something in you that feels like, gosh, I don't want to do that, but you feel like almost obliged because you want to see that person thrive. You want to see them succeed. You want to see them in their highest and best light. So it's really easy to start abandoning yourself and your own needs and desires to help and serve others, because naturally it's within us, especially as light walkers, as healers, as spiritual teachers, as people who have lived in life, a life of, say, service or devotion, or, you want to be your highest and best self, you want to make a positive impact on this plane. It's very easy to get stuck into feeling like you have to give, 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 and even to the point where your life's purpose requires you to sacrifice things within your own life to serve the greater good. And this is something that I've just recently shared about in a Facebook post and also in a YouTube post, is this idea that the greater good requires us as an individual to sacrifice ourselves or to suffer in some way. Because the truth is, the greater good benefits from all within the greater good, living their best life, accessing their highest joy, accessing their highest peace, accessing their highest fulfillment and abundance. And you sacrificing yourself and you putting your needs and desires last and abandoning yourself again and again and again isn't serving the greater good. It's actually one more person within the greater good that's stuck in a cycle of suffering, that's stuck in a lower vibrational energy that is then holding the collective down, really. What happens is usually it's in our childhood, is there's something that happens where we learn or believe that our needs don't matter, that we don't really matter, or that our needs are a nuisance, that if we ask for things, then we are being a burden to others. And eventually we get to this point where we just stop asking, or we feel like you don't want to ask because you just want to keep the peace. And this can, when we're a child, it can be stuff that is um, down to, say, abusive relationships, for example. You were just neglected as a child. Your parents or your caretakers didn't look after you. They didn't fulfill your needs. They didn't give you the attention that you needed. And it can even be things that were kind of out of people's control, like maybe you grew up with a sibling that's got a disability and they required a lot more of your parents' attention and care and nurturing, and just maybe you had to sacrifice yourself in those moments and decide, my needs can't matter because we need to look after my brother first or whatever it is. And so there's some things that are it's kind of out of our control, really, but when life happens, especially when we're young, we learn these lies that our needs don't matter, or that I'm a burden, I shouldn't be here, my life is a burden, like I shouldn't exist, my purpose in life is to just serve others. And then we start to then have these beliefs running in our subconscious. And the danger with having beliefs running in your subconscious like that is that you end up attracting similar situations as you get older. And so what we find is that a lot of people, when they are used to self-sacrificing or self-abandoning, or when you don't have boundaries and when you decide that you just want to give and serve others over yourself, then you end up attracting people, like I said, who take advantage of that, and you can end up being in narcissistic relationships with avoidant people, or just attracting people that will actually eventually cause situations. Like, say, stealing a load of money from your business, or um, just overstepping your boundaries and taking you for granted, really. Now, when we attract these people, it's because we have a wound that matches theirs. So, as an example, you might you might have an abandonment wound because when you were younger, there just wasn't enough time for your parents to really give you everything you needed, the nurturing, the love, the attention. And so on a subconscious level, you felt like you was kind of emotionally abandoned by them or physically abandoned by them. And so this is called like an abandonment wound where you can become kind of overly emotionally attached to others because of what they can give you to make you feel loved, that nurturing that you didn't get when you was a child. Um, or it can make you abandon yourself and then grow up never putting yourself first, sacrificing yourself for others, and eventually like wearing yourself down and draining yourself out because you don't look after yourself in the way you do in other people. And then what you can do is then say you attract a narcissist. That's because, say, a narcissist, they might have an abandonment wound. Maybe their parents abandoned them somehow, and they have turned into someone that just never took any responsibility for their life. They're very self-centered. And then your abandonment wound matches theirs, and you come together, you're attracted together, and you play out these themes of abandonment, whether it's self-abandonment or maybe they abandon you every time you have an argument or whatever it is. And so this is the importance of doing the healing work on these core wounds, like the abandonment issue or whatever wound may come up for you, because when you start to heal the root where the lie was created. So let's say we do a session, you go into a guided meditation, you go to speak to that version of yourself, that 6-year-old inner child who at that moment felt abandoned by their parents because the parents left them at shopping centre and forgot that they were there and drove off, and then, like, some parents can just forget. I've had stories before where children get lost and parents have left, and then they're like, shit, where's the child? And they come back, but the child then has a mini trauma because they're a child and they feel like, oh my God, I was abandoned. So you have these abandonment wounds. So when you go to the original core wound where this started from, you do the healing with that version and you correct the lie, because that version of yourself believed the lie that I am abandoned, I'm not good enough, like I don't deserve to be here, I'm a mistake, whatever it is that they believed because of that painful experience. Then that's the lie they've held on to, and that's what they have kind of lived life through, like a lens, and then attracted similar situations. So when you go and heal that at the root, you dissolve the lie and you teach them the truth that yes, that might have happened, but they weren't ever abandoned by like the divine and by God, and that like um, they thought they were looking for the love and the nurturing from their parents, but really they were looking for it from themselves. And it's like you be that loving parent, giving that child the nurturing that they didn't have from your real parents, and you're able to actually heal the wound and allow them to see it from a different perspective. And then life changes because you have corrected the lie that was holding up the way that your life is currently constructed in the relationships that you've manifested based on what you had within. So, what can often happen is when you start to do the healing work, and it can take multiple sessions, it's not just like one session and suddenly your whole life changes, but every session makes a difference. But when you really commit to your own inner healing, and this can be journaling, this can be doing somatic movement, this can be doing yoga, this can be doing shadow work sessions, it can be doing like dream work, any way that you feel called to start digging within and seeing what is playing or running your subconscious is brilliant, because the more you start to do this, you'll end up noticing that gradually things are unraveling and unraveling and unraveling, and then people start to just fall out of your life and situations start to fall out of your life, and the narcissist you were once connected to because you had a matching wound, you don't connect and attract anymore because your wound has healed. They might still have their wound, but they can't connect and plug into your wound anymore. You're whole or healed in that area. And so they must then now find someone else that they can connect to in that way to then heal and play out that karma or that wound or those lessons they're trying to gain somewhere else. And the interesting part is, we are sovereign, divine beings. We are like divine creators. So 9 times out of 10, if you are a light worker or a healer or a spiritual teacher, it's not nice to hear, but on a higher level, your higher self most likely called in or attracted that narcissist into your life because of the ways that they can teach you and show you the ways that you are abandoning yourself. So you'll attract people that will never love you in the way that you need to. You'll attract people that abandon you at the minute you are argue with each other, or you'll attract people that just keep taking and taking and taking and don't give a shit about you and your boundaries, because it's acting as a mirror for you to realize and recognize what is playing in your field. Relationships are such brilliant mirrors, because otherwise it's difficult to truly really see what's going on beneath the surface in your own life. But when you're faced with a relationship, you're able to just see it clear as day. And it might take time for you to start recognizing what the lessons and the growths are that this relationship is reflecting to me. And that's okay. Sometimes it can take years, and like it's all part of the divine journey. And the time it takes is perfect for you, because sometimes you just do need more time to really recognize the truth of a situation. Um, because when you are so used to abandoning yourself, and the way that abandoning yourself could look is, you know that you really don't want to do something. Like going out to this party on a Saturday night, there's something within you, you just know, I just don't want to go to that party. I just want to chill in, I want to watch a movie. That's what I want to do. And maybe your partner or your friends, they really convince you, and they're like, no, come on, we need to go to this party, stop being a loser or whatever it is. Come on, like this party's gonna be really good. And you just don't want to go. But eventually you decide, do you know what? I can't be bothered arguing. I can't be bothered with the hassle. Fine, we'll just go. And that's a small moment where you abandon yourself because you have decided that your needs and your desires, what you wanted for yourself, comes secondary to what everyone else wants. And what happens then is that part of you that knew, I don't want to go to that party. Maybe you needed to rest. Maybe there's something within your soul that knew there was someone bad there and you're going to get bad energy or whatever it was. There's something within you that said, I don't want to go to that party, and you logically overrid your true like needs and desires, and basically abandon yourself or sacrificed those desires and needs for what everyone else wants. And then maybe you go to the party and maybe it's shit, and maybe you hate it, and maybe something bad happens, and maybe I wish I would have listened to myself. And what happens is so often we have these moments in our everyday life where you abandon yourself again and again and again, and it's only small. So in the moment, it doesn't feel like self-abandonment. I just want to share, I've just been abandoning myself in a relationship for the past 8 years, and I've just got out of it. And I had no idea I was abandoning myself or sacrificing myself until literally like a month ago or something. So it can sometimes people can take a lifetime abandoning themselves and not even recognizing that they're doing it. So this is why I'm hoping to teach you what that looks like so you can start to recognize the moments in your life that you are abandoning yourself to start to make a different decision. You don't have to break up a relationship if you find yourself abandoning yourself. It's not about the other person. It's about you. Being there for you. It's about you putting your own needs and desires on the same level as the other people that you love and want to support. But you always have to be there for you first because no one else will, and everyone else has to do that for themselves as well. So the more that we chip away and we abandon ourselves and we decide to not listen to that inner voice, the more that the inner voice stops trusting our ability to follow our divine guidance. And so eventually the inner voice can just stop talking and being like, there's no point in me even sharing what I want. And the inner voice, by the way, could be like your inner child or something. So eventually, if you abandon yourself enough times, you might go, oh, I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what my desires and needs are like. I'm just happy to go with the flow with everyone else. And suddenly your life becomes living through and for other people because you've lost all, you don't know who you are anymore. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you need. You don't know what your purpose is or your passions are. You just feel like you're there to serve everyone else. And so what can happen? Hi, Raz. Nice to see you. Um, what happens then is that's because your inner voice, your desires and your needs, your soul stops saying anything because it knows you're not going to listen anyway. And so then you lose that connection and you just don't know what you want anymore. And so then you're just pulled into maybe a lifetime of living for everyone else. Now, you are here for your own life. Everyone's got their own life, their own purpose, their own wants, needs, and desires, and there's room for everyone to have that. And your life is for you, it's not for anyone else. So we all came here for a purpose. We all have a unique purpose, and our lives are for ourselves first. And so when you find yourself abandoning yourself and living for and through other people, you are abandoning your purpose as well because there is something that you came here to do. And it's not just to blindly serve someone else and to never tap into your own divinity, your own life's desires and dreams, and to see what you came here for. Everyone is here for a reason for themselves, even if it is to help with the Great Awakening. You are here to do that through you, through your life, through your creative endeavors, through your passions, through your values. Like you have a unique experience to share with the world. You didn't come here to have your own life, but then to suddenly just forget it all and live through everyone else. eats away at your like mind, body, and soul, and you end up can hold and start holding resentment or anger or frustration that no one ever gives a shit about you, that you have to always be the one to sacrifice what you want, that no one gives you back the same level of respect that you've been giving others. It can manifest in ways that people decide they either can manifest, say, illness to make everyone around them just stop and have to pay attention to you for once. You can manifest illness or desires of just not wanting to be on this planet anymore because you don't know why you're even here. And you can manifest even like, say, resentment and hatreds towards people and start to harbor these like anger and negative energies. None of this stuff is healthy. So the only real solution is to learn how to stand up for yourself, learn how to stop abandoning yourself in these moments, and learn how to have the compassion and self-love that you deserve. Give yourself the love and respect that you give for everyone else. It's your time now. And it's done one step at a time because it's difficult to just change overnight, and especially if this is something you've been doing your whole life. And so if you have found yourself doing this your whole life, and it feels like, how am I ever going to do that? Because you're scared to speak your truth. You don't know if it's okay for you to speak your truth and your needs, and you don't know how the people around you are going to react. Like they've lived their lives around you abandoning yourself. And there was a really interesting quote that I was listening to one of my spiritual teachers. It was probably a few months ago, and they said something around um, if your relationships, if your like loved ones or whatever fall out with you, when you stop abandoning yourself, then it wasn't a good relationship to begin with. Because the people who truly love you should respect you and love you, even if your boundaries make it an inconvenience for them. Even if your boundaries mean that they can't get as much access to you or your money, or you're putting yourself first, and so now they have to learn how to readjust to that. If they love you, they will happily readjust. Yeah, they might not like the boundaries at first, but they love you. If they argue with you, if they push back your boundaries, if they call you crazy or stupid, or they start to fight with you about it, and it's not just once, but they just don't come round, and that it's constantly causing a situation, then it's worth looking and reassessing, what is this person doing in my life? Like, what what are they gaining from me self-sacrificing? How are they benefiting from my self-sacrifice and self-abandonment? And do you really want to surround yourself with people that would happily have you self-abandoning, happily have you sacrificing yourself, even if that means that you don't get to access the joy that you deserve in your life? Because, like I said, there's room for everyone to have joy. There's room for everyone to live fulfilled life, to live their purpose, to have all their desires and needs met. Yes, there's sometimes compromises, but it's a balance. I'm just tuning in to see what wants to be shared next. Okay. So when you recognize that there has been an element of abandoning yourself, abandoning your inner child, abandoning your wants and needs and what you truly desire, abandoning your life's purpose, then you just really need to start by having so much compassion for yourself, because no one does it for fun. No one does it just because it's cool. We abandon ourselves from a deep wound of feeling like we have to, in order to get the love and nurturing that we're so longing for. Because often when we're abandoning ourselves, it's because of other people. We're doing it for other people. And then the question is, what is it that you're getting from the other people that you would rather abandon yourself to make sure you don't lose it? And this is where we have codependent relationships, which means that we are dependent on others so much that we abandon ourselves, we suffer, we harm ourselves, even if it's psychologically, mentally, emotionally, because we are scared to lose the other, when truly what we want to be doing is remembering our divine sovereignty, remembering our divine connection to source, remembering that God's where we get our true unconditional love from. And that if you are plugging into another person to get love and nurturing from them, the same love and nurturing you didn't get as a child, you are plugging into their human energy, and you are, in a way, like feeding off their human energy, the love and nurturing that you get from them, from the relationship, even if it's like a trauma bond where it isn't really loving, or it's like push and pull. Sometimes it's loving, sometimes it's not. And the times that it is loving, you're holding on to those moments and you rely on that person to give you that nurturing. It ends up getting you in situations where you get stuck in long-term relationships where they can financially abuse you, mentally abuse you, physically abuse you, where you are completely forgetting your own worth, your own divinity, your own guidance, your own trust, because you're so desperate for that love and nurturing you didn't get from the other person. And they could be plugged into you and feeding you as well, feeding off you as well for whatever they're getting from you. And when you're plugged into another, and rather than being plugged into God and being two sovereign beings, because you are feeding off each other, you are then draining the reserves. And if one drains the other, or the other, like, if you drain up the reserves, there's nothing left. And it's like a love-hate relationship. You start getting angry, you feel drained, you feel like negative, and it's a low vibrational relationship. What you want to do instead is be sovereign individuals together. You can still be in a relationship, but you're not plugging into each other's wounds and feeding off each other's energy and needing each other for that love and nurturing. You do it for yourself. You decide to be that parent that your inner child never had for yourself. You decide to be the one that stands up in your empowerment like the lion, stands up in your courage like the lion, and roars and says, I draw my boundaries here. This is what I want and need, and you must respect that. There's a version of you within you that is like that. There's a version of you within you that gives no shits. And there's a version of you within you that believes or feels like you have to be good in order to be loved, or you have to be a certain way or behave a certain way to be loved. And that includes abandoning your truth, abandoning yourself, and acting as this character that isn't you, it isn't your truth, it isn't fulfilling you, it isn't bringing you joy and purpose and expansion, but at least I'm loved by this person if I stay being this character. And that is not the way that you ascend into your highest and greatest timeline, version, and relationships. And so when we decide instead to tap into all these different versions of self and allow them to come forth and through and heal them, and allow them to almost be like, be present at the table, it allows you to access all of yourself and appropriately use these different aspects of you in every given moment that is required. So, as an example, we all have, like an inner child, a version of ourselves that when we were younger, we didn't care if we were dancing and people laughed at us. We didn't care about singing and being like flamboyant. We probably didn't care about what people thought about us. And that inner child still exists within you somewhere at a certain age. Something happened to that version of you when you were younger. A certain age you got to where someone shouted at you for being childish or for playing, or someone laughed at you at school at a performance for dancing and you tripped over or whatever it is, and there's a version of you that suddenly thought, it is not safe for me to be this way. I can't behave this way because otherwise, if I do, I lose the love of my parents or I get bullied and people take the mick out of me and it's embarrassing and my reputation and my ego and stuff. And so that young inner child who doesn't care about dancing in the rain or dancing and like looking silly, they get kind of stuck at that age and locked within you. And you're like, I'm going to suppress you because I can't be like you anymore. I need to be an adult. I need to be sensible. I need to be professional. I need to walk and talk and look a certain way to be accepted in society. And these are all things that we learn. But then this version of ourselves, this young girl that doesn't give two shits, is still in there, and we can still tap into that version and be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry that I abandoned you back when I did, but I want you with me. I want you in my life. I want you to be at the forefront, and I want to embody that energy again of like dancing and not caring what people think." And you can literally tap into that version of self. And so when we start to call these versions of self back up and do this inner healing work, we can start to trust ourselves again because we're actually having conversations and opening our arms or extending the olive branch to all the places within us that we have self-abandoned through years of just general life on earth. And self-abandonment, I I don't, I'm pretty sure there's most people have abandoned themselves at some point in life. The the issue that can come if you don't heal these different parts of yourself, and this is something called parts work, is you work with these different parts and heal them and help them come whole. If you don't heal these parts, they stay compartmentalized, and some of them can be silent and shut off, but they can be festering like anger or resentment or negative energy in your field somewhere in your psyche, in your mind. You can have other parts that are certain ways and other parts that are certain ways. And this is how people can, I mean, I'm not a doctor and I'm not diagnosing anything like this, but I've seen stuff similar in real life. It's almost like people can have like multiple personalities, or they can have a lot going on internally and they're fighting themselves mentally and feeling depressed or feeling suicidal or anxious. And these can be aspects of themselves within that have been completely ignored, completely abandoned, and that just had enough of being ignored. And now I'm going to rear up my anger, or I'm going to rear up my anxiety, or I feel frightened that no one's come to help me. And this is a part of you that you have overlooked or ignored or abandoned or decided to just like never take the time to acknowledge. And then these parts of you, they need the healing, otherwise they become more and more of an issue. They can cause mental health issues and even manifest as physical diseases and things like that, blocks in the chakras, and then it blocks areas of your life. Again, I am not like a medical physician or anything, but I am a medical intuitive. I'm officially trained up in medical intuition now. And so this is the modality that I use for doing this inner healing work. So if you haven't met me, hey, I'm Laura Victoria, and I help people regain and rebuild self-trust, and help you find more peace, more purpose in your life through music, through healing, and through spiritual mentorship as well. So you can book a return to self healing session, and I also do spiritual mentorship as well. So if you're interested in finding more about that, you can also book a 20-minute consultation call where we can have a chat and see if it's right for you right now, see if we'd be a good fit to work together, and just really get to know each other with that. So if you are serious about spiritual mentorship, check that out. Um, and of course, feel free to schedule a session if you wanted help with your own parts work and anything to do with self-abandonment or any areas of your life that you are feeling like you wish would improve, or you're feeling stuck and you're not really sure what's causing these issues. We can definitely look at that as well. So, just a last thing to talk about on the topic of self-abandonment is that even though a lot of this stuff can appear in childhood, they can often actually be stemming from our ancestral line or even from past lives. And so, when something happens to you in childhood that makes you feel abandoned, it can actually be a wound you've carried from a past life. And so that's why it's shown up again, even in childhood, flared up again. Something's happened that's triggered the abandonment wound. And once again, you feel abandoned. And then it's just become a occurring theme in your life. So it can be ancestral. One of your ancestors, something happened to, and they carried this abandonment wound, and they just kept passing it down and down and down until someone is able to actually heal with it, heal it, deal with it, and process it properly. Or it can be a past life thing where something happened in a past life and it was never dealt with or healed then. And so then it's something that you've carried almost as a soul wound, that then life after life you might experience similar themes of self-abandonment. And it's really interesting because when you start to do things like past life regressions, you start to see similar themes where you draw the same type of people in, or you have the same kind of experiences as a child. And it's really interesting to watch how these same patterns and loops will play out until they're healed. And they are always teaching us something. So the abandonment wound came from us feeling abandoned at a time. But then the things that we attract in our lives to show us the wound is to teach us how to gain the virtues that abandonment can bring you. So, as an example, abandonment, being abandoned, feeling isolated and alone, that could possibly bring you virtues of independence. Maybe virtues of compassion because you know what that feels like and you don't ever want other people to go through that again. Maybe it brings you virtues of patience because you learn to be patient or compassionate with yourself when you're going through these experiences, or maybe you're just learning how to be patient with other people in your life. And so there's always things that we can gain from these experiences. And some of the things I've learned from mine, like one is to recognize the red flags earlier now. You can learn things like having boundaries, learning how to actually have boundaries, learning how to affirm boundaries. And boundaries can be some of the kindest things you can possibly offer people. And boundaries aren't for the other person, they're for you. So you're not meant to tell someone, um, say if someone tries to overstep your boundary, you aren't meant to say to them, stop overstepping my boundary, don't you dare do it again. What you're meant to say is, this is my boundary. If you do it again, I'm walking away. So you aren't to expect others to hold your boundary line. What you're meant to do to actually affirm your boundary is to decide when it's time to step back, because people and others will always try and cross and push your boundaries, because especially those that benefited from you having no boundaries, they will try and do whatever it takes to get back to their cushy place where they can just literally ride off your coattails or use and abuse you whilst you're self-sacrificing and they get the good life. So because there's always going to be people like that, the boundaries aren't for them. They will always try and slowly and gradually wear away. And it's a gradual, slow process sometimes, so it can be difficult to notice in the moment. But what you have your boundaries for is you say, this is my boundary, and I'm saying no. So you walk away. And then in future relationships, you will recognize it earlier on. You will affirm your boundaries. You'll recognize how they respond to these boundaries, and you'll hold stronger to them going forwards. And so learning how to have strong boundaries, um, learning how to take your power back and to live your life through you, to recognize that your purpose matters, your life matters, your needs, wants, and desires matter, your contributions matter, and to recognize the importance and value of you and your own life. People who self-sacrifice, they can have issues with not feeling worthy, having lack of self-worth, lack of self-value. And so again, these types of relationships can push us to this point where we suddenly, like a phoenix in the fire or like a flower that just suddenly bursts and blooms, we go, hang on, whoa, this pressure's just made us go, wow, I am worth so much more than this. I don't need to take your shit anymore. And so you just become this transformed person or version, and everything changes. And so I have this past year. This has been a long time coming because I've been doing my inner work for years. But what I started doing last year was training up as a medical intuitive, and with the medical intuition, when you do the technique of how to heal other people's parts, you have to do it for yourself as well. The whole idea is you heal yourself first on all levels. And by the way, the healing journey is a constant thing. So I'm not saying I'm healed and complete, but I started doing the real deep work about a year ago. And slowly things were changing and boundaries were starting to be set. And I was starting to notice things and saying things and putting myself first and recognizing stuff. And it took me over a year to transition to this point, but now I'm on the complete other side out of that relationship, not abandoning myself anymore, got boundaries, like feel empowered. I pulled all my energy back from that person and I felt the disconnection and I felt me back and I feel filled with my own purpose again. And one of the biggest things that I questioned at the time was, is this okay? Am I actually allowed to step into my own life and put my energy towards myself and my own purpose? Because I believed at the time that serving others was my purpose, that serving others was the greatest purpose you can do, but not at the sacrifice of yourself, not through self-abandonment. Serving others is a beautiful thing to do, but you have to serve yourself as well. You have to do the balance. You have to have time for service and you have to have time for self-care and rest. You have to have time for what you want and need. And you have to make sure that your predominant energy is living through yourself, creating what you're here to birth, knowing that your life is important, that your voice is important, your creations are important, and allowing others to have that for themselves as well. And so another thing to consider on the flip side is just, is there anyone in your life that you feel is abandoning themselves that could benefit from watching this video or learning a bit more about self-abandonment? Maybe even a loved one, and you think, "Do you know what? Maybe I could be a bit more kind and compassionate. I feel like my partner is really sacrificing a lot for me, and maybe it's the other way around." And hopefully this can bring some insights onto the what that feels like and the ways that it can negatively affect your life. I learned so much through my experience that I know that I, on a soul level, chose to go through all of this to find my empowerment back and to heal all of these wounds. But it was not an easy 8 years. It was not. And so the person I've become, just complete different person on the other side, like complete different person than what I was a few months ago. And there was times when I genuinely felt I was dying. I genuinely felt like this. Have you ever had it when you're in a dream, like a nightmare, and you wake up and you go, God, thank God that was a nightmare. There was times when I was like, I'm literally living in a nightmare and I can't wake up from this, and I've just literally got to sit with myself and go through it. And this is the important thing, sitting with yourself. This is what I was doing through the training with the MIT. Raz Pixie 1000% says serving all, and all includes yourself too. I could not have put it any better. Thank you for sharing that, Raz. This is the thing is, I'm just trying to follow my, my, train of thought again. me just call it back in a sec where I was going. Sorry, guys. Do you know what? Maybe it's for a next call. So feel free to share in the comments if you're watching this back, what resonated with you, what areas of your life you recognize you may be self-abandoning, or even just write it in a journal. If you've got a journal, start to do some journaling on where you feel like you've been abandoning yourself and where you feel like you could or should start choosing differently. Once you choose differently for yourself, it starts the ball rolling. And I can't remember if this is what I was going to share, but I was when I was doing the training of the medical intuition, one of the biggest things that they were teaching us, I remember where I was going with this now, is the importance of the emotional healing. So when you do this healing with these inner versions of self, it's actually the emotions that that version of self is holding that can be causing a lot of the wound to stay unhealed. It can get trapped in our body, and so when we actually process the emotions that we are going through or growing through when they arise, that's where the beauty of the healing is. And so with me, when I was going through this moment of feeling like I was going to die or feeling like I was living in this nightmare that I couldn't wake up from, I had to be with myself rather than abandon myself. And for so long, I had abandoned myself anytime I felt overly emotional. That means rather than sitting with the pain, sitting with the sadness, the anger, whatever it was that was coming up in that moment, justifiably because of what I was going through or experiencing in the past, I would have like consciously what happens is you can consciously leave your body in a way. You can be like up in your mind, thinking about other things, distracting yourself, watching things on socials, trying to distract yourself from how you're feeling, and you can suppress the feelings. And then these are where you've abandoned yourself again, and yet again, another part of you that's in pain has been left to deal with it alone. And so when you learn how to stop abandoning yourself and start healing these aspects of self, then you find that when you are going through difficult situations in life, you sit and you stay with yourself. Like you are sitting and staying with your best friend or your sister or your mum or your child. When you feel that pain, when you feel that sadness, that anger, whatever it is, you allow it to be and you stay present in your vessel and you allow it to come through. You cry all the tears, you get angry and you hit a load of pillows. In a healthy way, you express and allow the emotions to be expressed and come through you so that you don't suppress them and push them away and get them stuck and decompartmentalize them, where you suddenly end up with a load of unprocessed emotions and you're an emotional wreck, to be honest, because I know people who are very dissociated, who are numb, who are completely disconnected from their emotions, and there's a lot of shit going on beneath the surface. And on the surface, they are very in the head and they are causing chaos in their own lives without even realizing because of all the unprocessed emotions that they are too scared to deal with and actually face within themselves. And so when you decide instead you're going to sit with yourself. Be present with the pain. Be present with what you're going through. Be present with the feeling like you're going to die. Rather than trying to escape it, move through it. Do somatic moving, do breath work, be with yourself, journal. Allow it to come up and allow it to be processed, because the quicker you do that, the more time that you spend with yourself being present in those moments, and you say, in this moment, Aura, I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to be right here by your side as you're feeling like you're going to die. I'm going to be right here by your side as you feel like you're living in a nightmare right now. And I'm going to tell you that you are so strong and capable. I'm going to be right here by your side, and we're going to go through this together. And it can almost feel like your higher self is the one speaking these things through you, because we're never truly alone. We do have our angels and guides, and it allows you to feel supported by yourself through these moments. And it's a lot easier to heal quicker, and it never manifests as an actual wound or negative situation, because you know now how to self-regulate and how to be that kind, nurturing, loving, compassionate parent for yourself that you never got when you was younger. And that's where the healing really takes a turn, where no matter what happens to you in life, yes, it can be difficult, yes, it can be painful, but to do it alone is much worse. To abandon yourself through that, way worse. So it's about being with yourself, present whilst you're going through these things. And it's where the magic happens. So I'm Aura Zakara. As I said, I help people find more peace, more purpose, and more self-trust in their lives through music, through healing sessions, and through spiritual mentorship. If you're interested, feel free to check out the links in the description of this page. It's been such a blessing to connect with you all. Thank you, Raz, for being here live with me. And I'm going to do a short closing prayer. Divine Mother, Father, Creator of all life, we send so many blessings to every single person that's on this call, live or on replay, that they get the awareness, the compassion, and the love, and the gentle self-nurturing that they need to start recognizing the areas in their lives that they may be abandoning themselves, that they may be sacrificing themselves, and to start filling them with the courage and strength and the awareness and clarity that they need to start putting themselves first, and to start choosing differently for themselves, to recognize the ways that they are being self-abandoned, that they are self-abandoning, that they are being used, that they are being manipulated, that things are unfair in their lives, and to give them the tools, the support, the nurturing, the guidance, the activations that are required for them to step into their empowerment and to start making positive differences, positive changes, one small step at a time in their lives, to start changing the way that their life is going, and to start creating a new life that is aligned with their highest timeline for their highest and best good. So to start allowing them to have the healing and nurturing in all the places that they've abandoned themselves already, to start allowing these places to come to the forefront for their own divine healing in the highest and best way, for their highest and best good in their own divine timing, and to allow them to truly start to embody more peace, embody more self-trust, to connect to their own divine wisdom and clarity, and to start live truly aligned with their purpose, to allow them to know that they are capable of more, that they deserve more, that they deserve a good life, that their life matters, that their contributions matter, their words matter, their voice matters, their thoughts, their actions, they matter. And that we are so appreciative of everyone here on this call, that they are here on earth at this time. We send you all so much love. We appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being you. Keep being your beautiful self. Keep connecting to your higher self, that your higher self will guide the way. Your angels are here to support you in any way that you need. Sending you so much love. Thank you. Love you all, and I'll see you very soon. Have a brilliant Lionsgate and Leo season. Much love.